Right. Perfect. So many nuggets in there, and we appreciate those thoughts. We're going to quickly take some questions now on mental health, and I've got another question here about business, which we'll take later on. So this question on mental health, you talked about, to our esteemed speaker, you talked about setting professional boundaries. Especially, and perhaps maybe you want to say expectations as well, professional expectations. But how would you say to us to manage those boundaries, especially if someone is early career, you're trying to do all your best to grind. I mean, you want to show that you are productive and all of that. So how do you balance that? That's one question. And then another question here is about transitioning your support systems. So someone's in school, you have a network of friends, and usually maybe you guys hang out on Fridays and things like that, on Sundays after church, all of that. But then now you've moved out of school, you started now you've started a job. It's a new group of people. How do you transition from that kind of environment to the other whilst you're trying to maintain your mental health, especially now that you have perhaps, or maybe trying to now build up again your support systems? Thank you.
So for the first question, I think I can answer this using my personal experience. Is that when I first started off in the bank, I started off as a trainee, right? And when you come in, you want to impress everyone you meet because that's how they tell you to network, basically. So you'll think network is impressing everyone that you meet. To my shock, these people don't remember you after a while. They don't remember you. You get hurt, you go, hi. You meet them in the corridors, you greet them, they go, who's this person again? And, you might be offended the first time, but then after that, you get to realize that, it's really an opportunity for you to reintroduce yourself to everyone. But then again, with regards to setting boundaries, is when I first started, we didn't really have much to do, if I can say, the first few months. You're a grad, they literally tell you that the only thing you can do right now is learn. And, you also still want to impress while learning. So you want to learn as quickly as you can. And then you also want to produce. And the danger in that is that you don't digest, right? Is that, you want to take everything and then produce, and then you end up making mistakes. And to that factor, if you do that, then you start a reputation of someone who's not able to, take the time to understand before you deliver. So it's very important that in everything that you do, you need to understand, are my intentions also reflected in everything that I'm doing? Because sometimes you might have a certain intention, right? But what the receiving end receives is not necessarily that intention. So with setting boundaries, right? I remember when I started the role I have now, is that I got into the team and I could tell that these are a team of people who don't, work is a priority for them, right? And I was like, well, it's not like I have anything better to do. Lo and behold, on Sundays I have church, on Saturdays I have rehearsals, I have this, I have that. And they don't relate in that capacity. So to them, they can work Saturdays and Sundays. In fact, there was a time that my boss called me one Saturday and was like, Praise, we need to see you at Boxburg. And I'm like, see me where? I have things I'm doing. And obviously I didn't say that way, but then in essence, you let them know that, oh, apologies, this seems to be last minute. Is there any way maybe I can assist from where I am? And in that, you might feel like you may have offended at that point in time, but then that was my step in setting my boundary, that on Saturdays, I'm not going to work unless you have told me prior. Or on Sundays, I have church, so I'm not going to sacrifice that for anything. And I think they respect you more if you're setting your boundary in the beginning than you being wavering, and then you get to a certain point in time where they are used to it, and all of a sudden you want to put your foot down like a toddler. It won't impress anyone. So I think if we can, our first instance that we have with somebody, right? If I'm to introduce myself to you, however it is I want you to view me is the way I'll introduce myself to you. So I'll go, hi, I'm Praise, I'm a Christian, right? Meaning that if you were to invite me to go to the club, all of a sudden now you won't, right? that's because that's a perceptive Jesus. That's the perception I wanted you to have of me, right? And it's the same thing too in the workplace. And then with regards to the second question, I think it's a very difficult thing to understand that we do outgrow people. It's painful for some, it's difficult for others, but you do outgrow people. And it's not a bad thing. It only becomes bad when you're outgrowing someone because of pride, right? Then if you're a child of God who's very dear to our Father, you receive a very humbling experience. But you can still keep your network from university. You can still, I think, keeping that communication is not a bad thing. But I also want to bring up a notion that I learned going into the workspace is that no one is your friend in the workplace. That's what I heard. I'm not saying it because we all work in different environments. You get to workplaces whereby they say we are like family here. There you expect your salary on the 35th of January, But you are able to, the nice thing about working is that you are able to know what it is that you want to receive from someone. So I would expect to learn resilience from A, does not mean I'll expect that from B, right? So you just need to know what you can learn from people. Anything else, leave it. I think that is one thing that we don't really speak about much, is that you shouldn't, it's not everything that you have to take in. And you can always learn from anyone, just like how you can outgrow people. So I hope that answers the second question.
Thank you very much. Please, let's put our hands together for our speaker again. All right. We're going to go back now to business. I mean, we've already heard about business. There was something here that it said earlier about knowing the system. Okay. Okay.
Is that okay?
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So I just want to speak from more an entrepreneur's perspective. Because, when you incorporate, whether or not you work or not, the business is fine. When you're working in a startup, if you tell somebody that you can't deliver for some reason, it could be the end of a business and the end of many people's jobs. So I think just being mindful of the space that you're working in is very important. Also understanding that, also choose the people you want to work with, choose people who genuinely care about your well-being, who don't just, come rain or come sunshine, you're nothing to them, So I just think understanding specifically where you're coming from, where it is that you're sitting, and who you're working with is also important. Because when I was working in corporate, they didn't care whether I stayed late, but I stayed late. Because for me, I cared more about my work than it wasn't for them I was doing it for myself, because it also helped me, with my brand and whatever I was trying to do there. But then more so when I started working for myself, I stayed even later. So I think also just understanding what is at stake is very important. Also understand who you are as a person. If you're not someone who likes to work late, if for you work-life balance is a thing, please balance your life, I just wanted to add that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, let's put our hands together. I saw a meme, I think it was yesterday on Instagram, and the guy was like, actually this morning, he said, you say you don't want stress. You don't like your 9 to 5 working for someone. You don't want stress. So you say you want to go into entrepreneurship. It's like, all right. All right, someone said, I got tired of working 9 to 5, so I said I'll start my own business. Now I work 24/7. All right, but thank you very much for those thoughts. We appreciate it. So this is a question on business, on money lending. The person asks, says, what if, you talked about money lending as a business model. Says, what if they don't pay back? Plain and simple, what if they don't pay back despite previous agreements? How can we go about this, especially considering ourselves as believers? How can we go about resolving such issues? I hope my question is...
It's like any business. All right, you could sell goods to somebody on credit, and if they don't pay, you go through a standard process of trying to recover the debt. If you can't recover the debt, then you can go the legal option. But you could choose as a believer that you don't want to pursue that option of legal and write it off. But remember, every debt that you write off, you don't collect, is money lost. So it hits your bottom line. This is the reason why not everybody goes to a bank and gets a loan, because the banks will make a risk analysis. They'll look at affordability, they'll look at repayability, they look at your cash flows. If they conclude that you cannot pay back, they will not lend you the money. Sometimes you are able to pass the test and get the loan, and later on things don't go right. So a short answer is you follow normal business recovery processes, and then you decide at the end of the day whether you write it off or you want to go the legal process. In the Old Testament, the deaths of fellow Israelites were written off every 7 years. And even when you had to call on collateral, there were very specific processes people had to follow. So, for example, you would have to stand outside and ask for the item that is collateral. And if you take somebody's jacket or coat and they are poor, God had prescribed that at night you must return that coat so that they can be warm. Then you can fetch that again tomorrow. So there were processes that even God put in place as to how you recover your debt. As a Christian, you won't be inhumane. You will be human and you will be compassionate in trying to get your debt back. One of my old pastors said, if you get into that situation where somebody owes you money and they don't want to pay you, you just say to them, I'll sow it to you. Because if you sow it, you will get the harvest later. So there's humanity to being a Christian. Yes, there are processes you must follow to try to recover. Then ultimately you can choose. You go legal, you leave it to the highest court of heaven, you choose. But it's not just in lending, it's in any business. May God give us the wisdom and the discernment to know which way to go.
Amen. Thank you very much, sir. Please let's put our hands together for that response. He said a lot of things there. One thing I wanted to pull out again is about in a society where it's very cutthroat, we have to strive to maintain our humanity. All right. We have a question from the audience. Yes, please. Who was it? Oh, right there. Any other questions? Please, this is the point where you ask practical questions. We will have another question and answer session, but again, that'll be mostly after the other two keynote speakers that we have. So please, let's ask a question. Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. My question is, he spoke about how your talents are going to make room for you and you'll stand before kings. I want to know, how do you, because your network is your net worth, so how do you network effectively when, like, for example, with what I do, the places that host the events I need to be in, or the places where I can meet potential clients or business partners, it's very far from where I stay, so I can't do it as much as I need to. So how do you, and also because of my age, it also affects a lot of the things that I do, because I'm quite young, so it's not very, I don't often find people taking me seriously when I speak about my craft. So I want to know, how do we network, and how do we speak, and how do we connect and meet with people in an effective way?
you very much for that question. Sir, the question is for you.
I appreciate the question, but I also would like to caution on the other side that the Apostle Paul said to Timothy, don't let people despise you because you are young. So often you mustn't be little yourself and saying you are young and therefore nobody takes you seriously. Maybe there is a skill you need to learn in order to, notwithstanding the fact that you may be much younger, maybe there is a skill you need to learn in order to get people to get their attention. Remember that Solomon was 30 years old when he became king, but old people came to hear what God had put in his heart. So do not despise the fact that God can do something wonderful with your life. In actual fact, that may be the reason that people one day will say she's young, but she's so mature beyond her age. So something you just need to prayerfully ask the Lord to help you, to saying, Lord, what is it that I need to add, subtract, learn, unlearn, so that in spite of the fact that I may be young, people will take it as seriously. You get to your people who are your potential clients far. Commitment doesn't have to have limits. You do whatever you have to do in order to get to where you need to get. Comfort and progress are like water and oil, they don't mix. So also often you have to step out of your comfort zone in order to achieve the goals that need to be achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Please let's put our hands together. All right. We also have a contribution from Mr. Pan.
Okay. So from my perspective, then, just in addition to what our speaker has said, we need to know who we are. So I have like friends who, when they enter into a room, they light up the room. Once they start talking like this, you even know that a gathering with them is more fun than a gathering without them, And then I have friends who are very different. Maybe they're more calm, but they engage more one-on-one basis and such like that. So me, I consider myself an introvert. I'm not someone who necessarily lights up a room. Maybe it depends on the topic. I'm not that kind of person necessarily. Sometimes it can come out, but not always. What I do, speaking from my perspective, is that if I can see that someone is open to a conversation, for example, you go to an event, you go to the coffee stand, you find the person there, you say one or two things, they respond, you see how they interact, then you can start, talking, right? Also, people like to talk about themselves, so I just ask them about what they're doing and all of that. Also, another thing is if someone is on stage, like for example, some of us are here, we're speaking, we are opening ourselves up. It means that we can talk, but we can't talk for such a long time. Because I remember the first time I went, not first time, but I'd done it a lot, but there was one particular time I had gone networking and there was a lady who, it was a competition and we came part of the top 5 or 6 or so. And there was a lady I met who told me that that I should talk to her and she wants to hear what I had to say. So I was with her the whole time, talking to her, chatting to her. After a while, I chatted to her for 5 minutes. Me, I'm just interested in the conversation. Chatted for 10 minutes, chatted for 15, chatted for 20 minutes. Then at some point, she's like, Bami, wait. Just sit down, wait. She says, this is a network. She said, I know that you don't know this, so I just want to help you and tell you this now. So this is a networking event, right? When you're at a networking event, know that many other people want to talk to the person that you're speaking to. So you cannot hug them for so long and not give anybody else another chance to network. She said, I'm telling you this so that it helps you, so that in future, when you're networking, you know that, 5 minutes max, be very brief, get your points, then do have a follow-up conversation afterwards. That she told me really, really has helped me. But it's not everyone who will tell you that. So I think sometimes it's you hit and miss, but then you learn a lot as you go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together. Come on, you can do better than that. Put your hands together. Thank you. To wrap this session of Q&A up, I perhaps want to add one or two things to what our speakers have said on that last question. So firstly is be patient. Of course, like someone says, be aggressively patient. So not just patient, waiting until whatever happens, but being taking step while waiting for your chance. And that's the statement there, is that you will get your shot. You'll get the recognition. But when you get that opportunity, please make sure you take it. A good example is David. David had built up, which is my second point, to evidence in the background. Nobody knew. He killed the lion, he killed the bear, but then he actually went on Uber Eats delivery that day. He went to deliver sandwich to his brothers. He didn't wake up that morning realizing he'll have an opportunity of a lifetime. So, but the Bible tells us very specifically, he, an attitude of excellence. He got up very early that morning, made sure that the sheep were taken care of, and then went to deliver the message. If he had gotten there 5 minutes late or 5 minutes earlier, he perhaps might have missed when Goliath came out to see whatever he wanted to say. So you'll get your shots. Of course, God orchestrates things. He'll make you meet someone, but he will not make you meet someone when he hasn't seen that you've built up the evidence or you're not prepared to handle that opportunity. So keep building, keep gathering evidence, and then someone will take interest and say, oh, tell me about what you're doing. And you'll be able to just say, and they'll be like, oh, you're so young, but yet you've achieved this. All right, here's my card. Please reach out to me later on. Okay. And the one final thing is, when we go for networking, we're going to talk about this also later on in the breakout sessions. But you go with a giver's mindset, not just looking for what can I get from this person, but how can you help this person? Because then when you sow, what happens? You reap. The challenge is most of the time we are looking at people saying, oh, we see people as opportunities. And what can I get? But if you see, what can I give, things open up for us. And God will help us in Jesus' name. We're trying to keep this professional, but we're in a church, so hallelujah. Praise God. I wanted to ask you a question, but I think I'll ask you privately. But let me not keep everybody in suspense. Well, in the UN meeting, did you give God all the glory? Yes. Okay, no, I'm just.
Sorry, what I'm saying is that people from all walks of life, whether high, low, I just connect. Hey, what's up? That kind of thing. Even though I'm an introvert, people will be.
Did you kneel and wave your hand? I'm putting you on the spot, but
in the hotel room.
Thank you very much, sir, for that insightful session. I think there are a few things amongst everything that has been said too. Is he made mention of augmenting your work with AI. Firstly, that AI will disrupt every industry, every business. I don't know if we've seen some of those Tesla shows where you've got, they're testing the bots now, or what the robots now, what they're called, and they're using them to serve ice cream, using them to serve popcorns and stuff. And there was the one guy who, you see some of those videos where the person fakes you out and gives you the popcorn, but then you take it and then it's a false, and the bot was doing something like that, So it's disrupting every industry, both technical, non-technical, service industry as well. So, but one of the main points he drove and says, augment your work with AI, but also leverage AI and become proficient in it, and it will help you stand out. Earlier we heard from, may I call you Ijoma? Okay. We heard from Ijoma earlier about standing out. Right, and then they go through your CV and seeing how, especially they're going through thousands and thousands of applications. Imagine if you've shown how you've demonstrated the use of AI in one or two roles, and perhaps packaging it to say, this is how I can then in the interview tell them, this is what I'm proficient in and this is how I can bring that value to your company. And every company now wants to position themselves as well, with this trend. So it's one way we can differentiate ourselves from the pack. All right. So it might mean that we need to cut off from Instagram a little bit to learn some other tools, or cut off from, that Netflix show. I'm speaking to myself as well. Cut off from that. Some of us have all the streaming platforms, all of them, and we binge watch. I binge watch too sometimes, just to clear my head. But we might see how we can start making use of our time to learn some of these things. So thank you very much, sir. Please, once again, a round of applause to our speaker. So now we are going into the next Q&A session. So Q&A for what we heard about CV prep, interview prep, and the world of work, but also about AI. I expect there to be questions. Yes, we actually had some questions. So people with questions, can we see our hands? This is fantastic. I'm going to give numbers, so please pay attention to your number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and where? 8. Okay, so these 8 people, there's something the head of our department, when I was doing my bachelor's, he said something. He said, a question is 3 sentences or less that ends with a question mark. It was so strict. So, you don't go up. What I'm trying to say is, please help us in keeping to time so we can get enough insight in keeping straight to the point. What's your question? 1, 2, 3 sentences. And you can maybe say who, if you want someone else to answer it.
I have questions for both of them.
For both. Fantastic.
So I had her talking about years of experience. So I'm a nursing student, by the way. I had her talking about nursing, so males in nursing and everything.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, can you basically write your years of experience? In your years of experience, can you write your clinicals? As I'm a student right now, can you write that as part of your experience? And also for Bami, I have a question for you, is that as I'm a student, right, there's this AI tool I've found, which is Notebook LM by Gemini. So how can I integrate that into my learning style? I know you can paste PDFs and everything, but how can I use it more effectively so that I can learn more effectively? Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together for those questions. All right, let's take number 2, and then we'll take those bunch of questions, and then we'll move on to the next.
Thank you so much for the teaching. I wanted to ask the HR and the hiring manager.
Breeze it up, please. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, I wanted to ask the HR and hiring manager. I have a lot of questions, by the way, but I'll just summarize. So as an HR person, what do you look for in the CV that gets past you and it reaches the stage of being seen by the hiring manager? And because I've heard people talk about that we must quantify the job descriptions. Some people talk about the ATS system, that you must paste, kind of hide the job description somewhere and change the font to wide so that it can pass the ATS. And also, the question that I had is the salary question during interviews and even in application forms. Because to me, it sounds like a trick question. Is it something we should answer, and how should we answer it? I have more questions.
Take those ones for now. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Please, let's also appreciate her. All right. Yes, let's take it.
Okay, thank you. Hi. Where's this gentleman? Okay, I will. Okay. Your question now. Okay, let me go to you. I will answer in relation from manager's point of view. I believe my love will answer from HR point of view, okay? The question related to salaries. Sorry, what was your question related to salaries? If you should answer. It's not a trick question. I usually ask to actually understand because Okay, so when it comes to salaries, right, there is a benchmark that we look at for the specific role. Okay, the benchmark comes from the company head. Okay, from our HR, it comes from them. So we work with that benchmark. Okay, obviously you coming from a specific role, entering into a new role, the expectation is that you would want an increase. So usually the increase is benchmarked to 10% of what you currently are earning. Okay, so we ask so that we know what we're working with. Okay, I ask so that I know what I'm working with. If we're able to afford you, because with all the experience, fantastic, but if you ask for 20% more than what our benchmark is, then we can't afford you. So that's why I ask. So I know, okay, you're competent, you have the skill, your CV is amazing, you will gel well with my team, you'll be able to take up tasks, you won't be a problem to me, your performance appraisal will be great, I look at your KPIs, all of that. But if I can't afford you, then I liaise with you. I'll tell you, okay, this is what we can offer, okay? We can offer so-and-so figure. Are you willing to take it? And that's where we start, me, you, HR. It's always a back and forth. But I ask because I want to know what I'm working with, if you're competent. So I'll ask you if I see that you have the traits for the role and for the job that you're applying for. So that's why I ask, okay? Then, sir, I want to applaud you. You said you're a nurse, right? We hardly see male nurses. So I want to applaud you sincerely. Are you the male nurse? Oh, fantastic. Sincerely, no, we hardly see male nurses in the hospital. So when we see a male nurse, it's like, big ups to you, because it's a gender neutral, it's a gender specific role. So great. What was your question? Okay, clinicals to add it to your CV, right?
Work integrated learning.
You working?
I get it like for
clinicals.
Yeah, basically clinicals.
Yeah.
I get it for our courses.
Yeah.
In health science, you do work integrated learning.
Yes, we do.
So
should you add it to your CV?
Should I add it to my CV?
Yes.
As part of my
As part of your experience, yes. Because obviously you're going to put that person as your reference, right?
Yes.
Yes, so we need to call that person to see, okay, when you were doing your clinicals, when you were doing your hours, how were you as an employee? How were you able to interact with the patients? Were there any complaints, so on and so forth? So yes, please do put it in your CV. I also tell my pharmacist interns, my young ones, your internship, your working hours, put all of that, because we want to see what you were doing. When you go into the hospitals and you do your clinicals, were you playing? You know? No, sincerely, no. I always tell them, put it in your CV. Your CV is detailed. Remember the difference between the CV and the resume? The CV is detailed. You need to put everything that you did, all your accolades. I personally don't look at the length. As long as it's structured, it's well organized in the correct format, and everything that needs to be on a CV is on the CV, I will look through it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, please let's put our hands together. Okay, then there was also the question about what you look for as an HR. Maybe you'll be able to answer that in terms of even the ATS system and some of the tricks. I mean, we see those things on social media now, YouTube, people telling you, do this, do that. All right, so perhaps maybe you can help us there.
So it's definitely true. The ATS system
Could you please?
Sorry about that.
The camera
So
can
the
catch you.
ATM system it's true. We use it, especially for big corporations, because we can't hire people to sit through CVs, right? So it is very important that each and every role you apply for, you modify your CV for it. Yeah, like I'm literally being very serious about this. It could be in the same company, you're applying for 2 roles in the same company. They could be fairly similar. Modify your CV for the both of them. I would rather, as HR, I sit through, maybe I'm overseeing 2 positions, I see your CV twice, right? Than one size fits all. There's no such thing as one size fits all for a CV. And also, in addition to what she has said about 3-page, that 1 page versus 3 pages of a CV, it's not a matter of pages, it's a matter of the experience that you have in there. I would, like what she has said, I'd rather, if you've gone through the ATS system, I would rather sit through a 4-page CV, right? And go through everything than a 1-page of lack of effort, right? And then with the ATS system, so when you see a job description, and I think now it's a policy that whenever you advertise a job, you have to put at least a bit of the job description on. We tend to put like 90% of the job description on our adverts. The skills are there, right? So for example, you might have the same skill, but you have it in different wording. The system would decline your CV. They will. So it's, and I'm not saying copy and paste, but I'm saying if you see that you have the skill, for example, the skill might be teamwork, let's just say. Your CV says teamwork, my JD says collaboration, right? It's important that you look, that's why I say you modify your CV for every application. You look through it. You have the skill, take it, put it on your CV. Don't copy and paste if you don't want to, right? You can put it to fit whatever the JD is asking for, right? But it's important that you look through that job description very well before you submit your CV. And then the question on salary is not a trick question, like what she has said. There is a benchmark. And if you have done your research on the market value of that position, you're able to come in there and say, according to the market value, this is the pay I'm expecting, right? And then they can say, okay, no, but we actually pay more, right? So it's either we go back and we say, no, we'll give you more on your offer letter, or we say, we'll start off from this benchmark. I don't know how it is in other companies, but for Standard Bank, I think we are just a little bit above the market bench line, right? The market average. So what we'll do is we'll start off there, and then every year there's an increase, depending on performance, obviously, right? Well, actually, there's an increase, even if, let me not lie, there's an increase because according to unions, we have to, right? So answer the question with knowledge. I think it's the same in CVs, for your CV, for your interviews, answer the question with knowledge. Don't go there and say, how much you guys have? That's where you can go that if the company says we're like family here, no, it's fine, you can say that there, right? So if there is knowledge about it, right? And you might think you sound intimidating, but no, you know your worth. You've done so many years of schooling, you have your experience. Ask, if you want to ask more questions, even on the salary package, the hiring manager will have to answer, right? If they say no, then run. You understand? So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together. All right, and I think you had a response to give. There was the question about the tool.
Yeah. So for Notebook LM, the best ways to, well, some of the ways to use it, not the best. It's good to like just research, but you can just take your PDFs from school, dump it inside, ask questions. It's just a tool that allows you to use AI, LLMs to connect to your data, and then of course gives you back the information very quickly. You can also ask it to maybe turn it into a podcast. That may also help you. So I've seen many cases of people. I remember the one girl took her company's website, put it into the podcast, into Notebook LM, and then the AI started acting like a podcast and like saying that, oh, have you heard about this company? Oh, and then they were having conversations. But that was like through, another way to market her company is through using Notebook LLMs. So I think just Googling will help you, YouTube especially. I hope that answers.
All right, please let's put our hands together. Thank you very much. Okay, we need to move on quickly because of time. I believe you're getting value for your time, right? Okay. So let's take number 3 and number 4. What was number 3? Okay. Is that mic on? Please. Okay.
All right, thank you. Most of the questions were answered anyway. I'm just going to ask one. In terms of references to the HR, normally they'll say they want 3 referees, right? So my question is, how many do you contact, right? And number 2 will be, when you contact this reference, remember I trust Sis Veronica here, I put her as my reference, So they call her. She says something contrary to who I am. Are you going to believe this person, or are you going to contact the next reference?
Thank you very much for that question. Okay, do you want to take the question now? All right.
Should I answer?
I wanted to take the next question so
sorry,
we can have
sorry.
some bunches. All right, thank you very much. It's touch, touch activity.
What kind of
I'm just
guys?
kidding.
So I wanted to just ask, when you spoke about to Miss Adams about the, but I believe Miss Faith can also answer this from the HR. When you spoke about the well-detailed history and everything in your CV, how far back can we go with adding experience? One. Secondly, what is the purpose of a cover letter? Because I feel like sometimes you can't write your experience from 2016 and now we're here in 2026 in that paged CV, I think. I don't know.
Cover letter.
Of a cover letter, sorry. Did I say cover page? No. Okay, yeah. And also, no, I think that's all. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, yes, yeah.
I was trying to type down the questions because I forget them.
I'm noting
Okay,
them too. So.
what's the first one?
The first one, she had two questions actually. The one about the references.
Okay, how many references and how many do we call,
Yes.
right?
And then you call, and then the person says something that's contrary to who you are, then you get back.
Okay, so I don't know if HR calls, but the hiring managers, we do call. Nah? So with the references, we call your two most recents. So your current employer, should you wish to put your current employer as a reference, and then we call the employer before that. So your two most references. And then also with the references, you obviously get permission before you put someone as a reference.
Yep.
So if you're going to put your friend or your colleague that the two of you were not working, I wouldn't advise that. So, rather, you put in your manager. So are you asking in terms of contrary information because your manager was what, mean to you? I want to understand. Or do we go to the next reference? Okay, I call both of them and I look what's common. So if both of them have negative things to say about you, then we pause. But if one has one positive and the other has one negative, we look at, in terms of the positive that you have, will that positive add value to my team? Then I consider you. Yeah. And then...
Next question was how far back?
In terms of experiences, put everything. Everything. Because I usually ask when you matriculated. So from when you matriculated all the way to currently. Yeah, so we want to see what you did. Sincerely, put everything. And also, when it comes to your CV, you update it regularly, right? Updating it regularly. Well detailed. Put everything. That's just the best thing. From the time you matriculated all the way to your current employment, put everything. Yeah. Even if it's 4 pages. Yes, sir.
And then purpose of cover letter.
Okay, cover letters, I don't read them. I don't. No, sincerely, I don't read cover letters. I think it's because of in pharmacy, we don't require you to have cover letters. We want to see your experiences. Unless if you put like those small side, yeah, I read that. But cover letters, I'm being honest. Like even I've double checked with my other managers because cover letters is detailed. Also, if the advert requires you to put cover letters, then okay, but ours don't. In pharmacy, because we want to see your clinical work, your clinical capabilities, your pharmaceutical knowledge, all of that. Cover letter, you're talking about, what do people talk about in cover letter stuff?
My name is.
My name is, exactly. Okay, I don't know what you put in cover letters, sincerely. I don't read those. I look at your experience. If you're able to fit well in the team, your competency, salary package, your values, does it align with our values? All of that. If you're able to show that, sorry, am I running out of time? No. Okay, if you're able to show that, then I look at that. Sincerely speaking, I don't look at cover letters. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Maybe something to add.
Yeah, because she pretty much answered everything. So cover letters are only subject to certain careers, if I can say. Not everyone asks for it. we wouldn't ask for a cover letter if you're going to, because every question we will ask will be asked in the interview. So we wouldn't really need a cover letter. And if your CV is detailed enough, you wouldn't need a cover letter. So like what she has said, unless they specifically ask for it. I know that they do that in the academic field, right? Yep. I haven't seen many industries that ask for cover letters other than the academic field. And in IT, I wouldn't know. So yeah.
But for cover letters, I think one of the main things there, especially for those people who maybe the job descriptions asks for a cover letter, it's almost like a first introduction. Some companies, maybe management consulting too, they do video cover letters. So there'll be a series of questions that they'll pose, and then instead of something written, it's a link they'll send you after you first submit your CV. Maybe the next day you might get a link telling you, oh, I need to go through this process in the next 3 days, right? And then sometimes they'll ask you, they'll give you prep questions, Higher View and some of those other platforms, and then give you 3 minutes to practice. But then the question they'll ask will be a different question in any case. So, yes.
If I can add, right? So I think they'd usually ask for that if they're not going to do assessments. So many a times, right, after you get through your CV being picked out, right, and you get through maybe before you get to interviews, they'd ask you to do assessments. So I guess in industries where they don't ask for that, then they'll ask for like a video for culture fit mostly, to see if you'll fit with the culture before they finally do an interview, because they wouldn't want to interview 7 or 8 people that their CVs have been picked out. So like I said, it really is subject to the career.
It is subject. So think of it like a motivation letter, how you fit, you're describing that. It's the first pitch of yourself, how you fit with that company's mission and values. You might not be able to include, this is the mission of the company, this is the value of the company in your CV, but in the cover letter, you can say how what you've done and who you are aligns. I mean, in the cover letter, you can say who you are and what you've done aligns with the company's mission and things like that. That's sometimes what they're asking for. All right, thank you very much. Let's take questions 5 and 6. Please, let's put our hands together. Thank you very much. Yes.
Hello everyone. My question is, as a student in college doing software development level 5, you're at a point where you don't know what to do, you don't know where to go. And though you are studying, you're literally doing well, you're studying for your exams, yes, you're passing, but then you do not know what to do, where to go after that. Should I work and grow while gaining experience, or should I further my studies before I work and all that? And also, as a student that is about to start with her practicals in companies, what should she expect?
Thank you very much. Question number 6. It's been answered. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Question number 7. I have to rein myself from saying something about you, but it's fine. Please go ahead, sir.
I have a question for the hiring manager and the HR guys, and also I have another question for the AI as well. For the hiring for the hiring manager, there was a sentence that you stated that when someone has 5 years experience and someone has 3 years experience, but with certificates showing personal growth, you prefer the person with 3 years and personal experience and personal growth, rather than someone who has 5 years experience and no other show to personal growth. My question is that industry related? Because some industries would want you to niche up and just gain experience on what you are doing, or is it something that is blanketed around industries where they prefer someone with personal growth other than, like for example, an actuary needs to gain a certain particular type of experience before they can be considered for that role. So if I'm an actuary and I have a certificate in economics, a certificate in accounting, but most companies hire the person that has long stay on a job, something like that. That's my question for that. And then for HR, I think I asked the same question. Yeah, I'm in my head too. So let me jump to AI. I'll come back to HR. So with artificial intelligence and taking over the world and everything, are you guys in the space looking at ways that you can present it to government so that, because that exposure you spoke about, it's very few percentages of people that can be able to get it, because there's rural schools, there's also township schools that even if you can think about it, there's no way of them knowing there's an app. When they have PE classes, it's not a computer. It's outside on the ground doing aerobics, you know. So that's my question. Is there something that is happening in the space that will later be translated to government so that it can be presented in government schools? Because it can spread out quite rapidly with that. And also, are you open to talking to someone I know in the healthcare space? Since you spoke a lot about healthcare product and what, there's someone I know who's very interested in AI, but he's a doctor, a very qualified doctor, and I'm sure he could give you an ear if you maybe send him something.
Business. Network. All right. Thank you very much for those questions. So please, let's put our hands together for him. Don't get tired of celebrating. All right. Yes. So we've had those questions. Let's see. Yes, from you. Who wants to go first?
I want to know her question. What is it? Who's it directed to? I think it was more to me.
Oh, more to you, right? Yes, because software development. Okay. Maybe let's have yours.
All right. So the lie that we received a lot was that if you go to school and you get your degree, that you are employable. That's not true. That is not true. Many people who have computer science, actually, some of the guys I went to school with, my friends, who did computer science, well, my friends back then, I don't know if now they'll still consider me a friend, but they, for example, didn't get a job in computer science. They got a job outside of it. So it doesn't automatically mean that. It also, I think many African children face that challenge because they don't realize that people are doing more than just going to school and passing for them to get hired. So when it's no longer whether I have the qualification, it's who am I competing with, you know? So I think what you need to do from that level is, you know, start putting yourself in those kind of spaces. I think proximity will help you a lot. So the closer you are to, like, for example, AI spaces, AI meetups, or like maybe applying online for opportunities that have to do with, maybe you see Standard Bank release a thing to say, we're having a visit office day. You know, maybe you even connect with praise, like, please let me know when you guys have like a graduates day, so that you can just start getting in and around the mix. Slowly but surely, you will start to also improve. I think that's the best thing to do in that regard. Let me think. Yeah, I think.
Courses.
Okay, so actually one of the things that you just mentioned, she mentioned courses. Do online courses, please. even those like other ones that you see like on, for example, Udemy, some of this platform, Udemy, Coursera, short courses, because they start to give you more insight into how these things are used in the real world. And you can also put it on your CV. In fact, how I got my first job, so that you know, was because I had on my CV, it wasn't a course that I got in like Coursera or Udemy, any of these online platforms. It was a course that they were doing at school that had to do with big data. And I said, let me just choose it as an elective. When I entered the interview, the guy looked at me, he said, you guys already know the story. My friend recommended me. He told me how the interview generally goes. I entered inside there. When I entered inside there, the guy looked at me and said, oh, I see you have big data on your CV, okay? Would you be interested in applying or in going for the big data position we have open? I said, okay, I wouldn't mind that. That was how, he says, if the interview goes well, I'll recommend you to the big data team. I didn't apply for a big data position. I applied for a software engineering position because I studied computer science. The guy looks at my CV, he sees big data in there. He says they have a big data opening, will I be interested? I said yes. Then after that, they had another second interview for the data science position. I did okay. They called me back to say I got the job. You know, so what I'm saying is that do extra things. I think more in line with the where you should go from here. Don't be ashamed or don't be afraid to do your honors. Don't be afraid to do your masters. Please do it. I always recommend if you do masters, do it with coursework. It will teach you a lot, right? Especially in computer science. Especially if you're going into like a field like AI or something like that, because the basic understanding in undergrad is probably not enough for what you want to do if you want to do like artificial intelligence or something. So please do it with coursework. Online courses.
Thank you very much. You can answer his question because of time too.
So just to be quick, in terms of Peter's question, so I did have some of a privilege to be part of like the Y20. So it's like G20, when the G20 came. So I was part of the policy making for AI, and I was just part of the task force there. So in being there, what I realized was that the policy process is an elaborate process that sometimes is a bit boring, tedious, boring, and like you go through policy documents and all of that. But it is something that I was able to contribute to. For example, I contributed to one of the policies you realize won't be like so big, but it was like data. It's just a policy contribution. So in the end, they then decide whether or not they will accept it or not. But it was saying that underprivileged, zero data rate for underprivileged children in university. That was one of the policy contributions I contributed. So it means that if you're in university and you need access to data for like studying and stuff, you can get free access to using online resources. I think that would help a lot of kids in like, you know, in underprivileged backgrounds. Then in addition, sometimes I am in contact with some people who are in the policy space. Like in the next 2 weeks, I will be going to, I'm traveling, but I will be in a discussion, in a sitting where we're speaking about the draft AI policy and making comments to the policy documents. The person who will be speaking about the policy document is actually somebody who's a policy expert. So me being in that space allows me to also contribute to this policy document, because then she is higher in the policy space, so she can take that document and she can say, government take, right? So I think that's how even you, members of the public, can also be a part of it, not just people who are like me. So I think that's just an addition to make. But if you have connection to government, please connect me.
Thank you very much. Please just put our hands together. All right. We are a little bit over time. Yes, I'm going to take that question. I'll just point in the fact that we're a little bit 5 minutes over time. So very quick with the question, and then we'll get maybe one or two. Yes, sir. Oh, there were some other things that were not answered yet. All right. Just give a second, please. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think I'll be long. When it comes to the years of experience, right, I feel like people are misinterpreting it. The years of experience is career specific. So if you're in a career where you are doing repetitive work, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the financial field, auditing, it's more of repetitive. So hence they would look at years of experience. However, science, the healthcare, the tech, my darling, those kind of places where policies develop, data changes, things are new, those kind of things, what we see and what managers and hiring team and whatever, they look at how you go out and look for information and how you equip yourself, seeing that data changes every day, if that makes sense. So yes, with that instance, the person with 3 years will trample the person with 5 years. Yeah.
He said powerful. Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together. Thank you. All right, the final question.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question for the HR and interchangeably. It's okay in relation to dated history, right? And someone has gaps, like they're out of a job or they, go back to school and decide not to work. How do you integrate that in your CV? Or how do you explain such gaps in your CV? Also, can someone make use of AI in order to modify their CV and it won't be trashed out? I don't know if that makes sense. I know a lot of young people are using AI to build their CV, and I feel like that is also making it like almost a disadvantage to hiring processes in a way, because some of us try to use it to aid our CV while some people just copy and paste. So, sorry. I'm just summarizing all my questions, if that's fine. Yes. I have 2 more. Yeah, it's still in relation, yes. Okay. So you said something about sounding expectant and be hoping for a call, right? The question is, so when you call a person, what response are you expecting when you call them? Because you said, hi, how may I help you? Is that rude? Is that, you understand? I just wanted to find out how they answer a question. And lastly, you said, don't show what you don't like or you don't like doing or saying, right? So now what if you don't know how to? How do you express yourself, in that interview space? I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My question is, during interviews, right, how do you communicate your self-worth? How do you express yourself without sounding arrogant? That's it. How do you
Express yourself, so your accomplishments and all of that.
Exactly, without sounding
arrogant. All right, and we don't wear 50-50 shoulder pad like they say.
So did you write down the questions?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. My darling. Okay, so in your first question was the Explain gaps. Oh, the gaps. Okay. I would prefer if you put it in. Because if let's say, for example, if you were unemployed, I would prefer that you put it in. Because for me, it's a conversation starter. I do have candidates where they have put it in, and then we ask them, okay, what were you doing in those years? Then they start saying, okay, I did the short course. This is when I did that course. I took a baking class. I took a sewing class. It becomes a conversation starter. It also shows that you don't want to stay idle because of the unemployment. It gives you an edge for the fact, number one, you have courage to actually put it in, and number two, you did not stay idle. So I say put it in, okay? Then the second one related to the core. AI is not me.
In CV development, how some people are not get thrown out.
Okay, I've not encountered one where someone used AI to state their experiences. Also, we will quote the reference. Okay, maybe I didn't understand. So what, are we able to pick it up?
Yeah, like they use some long, huge descriptive words to describe on their CV, and...
I don't think it's bad.
Oh, okay. But it becomes competitive in a way. I don't know. Do hiring managers like put it out of the way, or
Can you
does
give me
it?
an example?
Okay, so for example, if I want to describe the fact that as a software engineer, this and this is what I'm doing, and then I was coding, and then I used some huge descriptive. I mean, AI does not hide using descriptive words and big descriptive words, and then I put it on my CV. Is it an added advantage or it becomes a disadvantage?
You basically play, okay, AI.
So I just want to contribute that the CV is just a leg in the door, right? It's not the job, right? So when you create your CV with AI, it's to the ultimate thing to get seated in the interview. That's what your CV does. Does your CV allows you to get seated in the interview? When you're now in the interview, communicating what was on your CV is what then sells you. So I think sometimes what people will do, they'll now carry AI, put it into CV, and then they're communicating. Then you ask them one question about the stuff that they said they've done. They don't know what they've done. You understand? And then in some cases, there are like people like me who like use AI often. So I'm sensitive when I see like AI-related text. I'm just like, okay, but I cannot discount still the person. I still have to talk to the person. Once I just talk to the person for the first 10 minutes of the interview, I already know, this one didn't actually prepare for this interview. They just put AI in the CV. So I think that's where it's coming from.
Thank you very much.
And then the expectant sounding.
How to sound expectant. I mean, you give that example before.
Okay, yeah, don't be rude and don't sound as if we are disturbing your time.
Hello,
basically.
who is this?
Yes, yeah, we have gotten that sincerely. And it's also the tone, the tone in which you communicate or converse with the interviewer also speaks loud, if that makes sense. Basically that. Don't sound as if you are disturbing me. Basically that, yeah.
And then there was one more question is, how do you express yourself
without sounding arrogant
in an interview? And you had one more other question too. Don't show. Oh, yeah, never show what you don't like doing.
Oh, but if you've never done it,
If you don't know how to do it.
then you state it. You state it.
But you're willing to learn.
Yeah, that you're willing to learn. But if you've done a task and you don't like doing it, rather don't say it. But if you've never done it and you're stating that you've never done it, then obviously I will teach you. So that's fine.
All right.
And
Yes.
then
How do you
arrogance.
express yourself without your accomplishments, without being arrogant or sounding arrogant or coming across as well?
Because for me, with knowledge of pharmacy, I will speak from my field. With knowledge of pharmacy, I know till how far you can go. Like, for example, if you're currently doing a PhD, I have a friend of mine that's currently doing his PhD. But before his PhD, he has done a lot, right? And he has said it on it's on his CV. When he goes for interviews, it's on his CV. It even becomes like a conversation starter that I've done this and there was a bit of challenges. My research was about this and we are trying to use my research to do this. I don't think it to make you sound arrogant. And for me, it's actually a learning opportunity because I'm bringing someone onto my team that has so much experience and you displaying it and you're able to show that you're going to add value to my team with your knowledge. It's not arrogant, no. If it's what you've done, then show it. Yeah, I learned from that specifically. And also my colleagues as well. Because in the pharmacy field, pharmacy is competitive. Pharmacy grows every day. So many people have masters and PhD. So you like, oh damn, what was your thesis about? My thesis was on microbiology. Oh, how did you solve that? And how, the medicine tools, it changes every day. So for me, I don't think it would be arrogant. State it if you want to.
Okay, that she summarized it. Yes.
In addition, it's okay. So when you're in an interview, it's your opportunity to be confident.
Shine, yeah.
So don't be afraid to be confident and to speak about. But the other thing is that people come in and they're also unfriendly. So if you're frowning and then they ask you what you did and you're frowning but you're confident in your frown, people will feel like you're arrogant. But if you're friendly, if it's like, how are you? And then you're nice to them and you just make them feel warm. And then you now speak about your confidence. They're like, this person is so nice, so bright. So it's not what is said, it's how it's said. So what I would just say is Like, just be friendly with the people. Be friendly. Like, and again, don't forget, you're not speaking, it's not an AI interviewing you, it's a human being. So understand that this is a human interaction.
Yep.
They are going to be biased. So if you have to play towards their biases, please, just do it in a godly way.
All right. And maybe one thing to that too is sometimes the interviewer might be trying to nudge you in a certain direction, but you are now standing your ground and say, no, I know this is how we have always done it. Then that can be a way, they say, oh, perhaps you're not teachable, and then you're being very rigid. So that can be, or without you, that company would have failed. And you make that very clear that if I didn't do this, I don't know where they will be today, It might be that you are very pivotal to the success of that enterprise, but the way you phrase it too, is quite important. All right. But yes, I think we're done with the questions so far. Please let's give a huge round of applause to all our keynote speakers. You can do better than that.